to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. In 2021, a record high 80% of adults in the United States reported taking some sort of dietary supplement. Commonly used supplements include vitamin D, magnesium, fish oil, and even multivitamin. Well, this morning, we're introducing you to Pure Health Research. It's one of the many supplement companies on the market looking to distinguish itself. Naturopathic Dr. Holly Lucille joins me now to share her expertise. Always good to see you, Doc.
Hey, Terrence, it is so good to see you.
So tell me what makes Pure Health products different than the other products out there on the market.
Yeah, well, I've been in the industry for quite some time, and I love partnering with Pure Health Research, mostly because of their quality. I mean, I think when it comes to dietary supplements, it's super important to have a commitment to quality and transparency, and they do. They only use premium natural ingredients in all of their nutritional formulas. And if you go to their website, purehealthresearch.com, you can see that each formula, the ingredients, they all have a clinical study behind them. So you're getting something that actually works as advertised, right? So it's been through the rigor of science, and it's natural. So no GMOs. They don't use any artificial chemicals, fillers, or preservatives, and they also manufacture right here in the United States.
Give us an example of some of the various types of products that Pure Health offers.
Yeah, they have 45 at this point in time. Wow. So I know. But I know we've talked about the liver health formula on the show before, and it's still probably the top seller. Liver health is so important. I mean, I think it's getting a lot of attention these days, and it does over 500 different functions in our body. So the liver health formula, well over 2 million bottles sold. As the name implies, it's this formula, combination, synergistic ingredients, natural, safe, but effective to support a thriving liver. Also can help those fat deposits. Fatty livers, super common. Unfortunately, over 100,000 Americans have it, do not know it, including younger people, right? So this is very important. Ignites metabolism to trim the belly fat. Then we also have lymph system support. So anyone who is struggling with any fluid retention in their extremities, like legs, ankles, feet, super awesome for that. And then we found out during the pandemic that only 12% of the United States is metabolically sound. What does that mean? Well, appropriate blood sugar, right? And good cardiovascular function. And so another amazing bestseller is their blood sugar formula. Really helps support healthy blood sugar levels. It can also reduce those appetite and sugar cravings, which I think people fight all of the time. And it makes it easier to stay away from those tempting sweets. And again, drop some pounds, right? I mean, people feel so much better when they're at an ideal weight, and also better energy.
I think it's probably also important to point out to people that supplements are just that. They are supplemental to the lifestyle that you should be living.
Yeah, but if you look at supplements in the dictionary, it means adding to or enhancing something that's already there. So lifestyle, dietary modifications, those things are super important, and we never want to forget them. You can't out-supplement a bad diet. It's like you can't out-exercise a bad diet. All of those things have to be in place for people. So, but this company is certainly there to help.
And for people who might be interested in taking up a supplement or incorporating a supplement into their life, I would imagine that you would tell them to talk to their doctor first, or should they? I guess the question is, should they consult a doctor first?
That's a great question. And I would say absolutely maybe not. And I'll tell you why. So okay. I graduated from a accredited naturopathic medical school. And the amount of nutrition science that I had in my curriculum far supersedes any that is in allopathic Western medicine. And so I think that there's value in all systems of medicine, but when you look at standard of care, allopathic Western conventional medicine, I would say there's not a lot of knowledge. So when there's not a lot of knowledge with somebody, they usually just say no, just to be on the safe side. So I think an appropriate practitioner, maybe a naturopathic doctor like myself, or a good nutritionist, or help the people that understand nutrition, understand dietary supplements would be a better pick for me.
All right. For more information, folks, go to purehealthresearch.com. It's right there on your screen, purehealthresearch.com. As always, good to have you along for the ride. Hopefully you got some information you can use.
Well, here we are, touching off another explosive hour of the Steve Gruber Show, coming to you live from the heart of American Studio G, fighting for you. I do this every day. I fight for you from the foxhole of freedom. You can find me on Twitter, Truth, Rumble, TikTok. Where are we going live today? Someplace new. All in an effort to save this place. Three big things to know this hour. Number one, another Tesla terrorist in jail. A Tesla terrorist. How do you like that? After being tracked down for that attack in Las Vegas last week, several cars set on fire, others shot. Yeah, he's facing federal charges too. There it is. Number two, the judge in the controversial deportation case involving murderous gangbangers from South America now weighing to target the Trump team for completely exaggerated signal chat group issues. I mean, this is so overblown. And number three, we're back in queue for a big old free speech, free-for-all Friday, brought to you by Patriot Mobile and the Common Sense Hotline. Good to have you here. That number is 877-310-9966. I'm ready to hear from you, America. And in a few minutes, Congressman Jim Jordan, too, as he will weigh in on the rogue judges and the very desperate Democrats. Well, the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline is 877-310-9966. First, I want to let you know that Elon Musk and his team were on Fox last night. They're busting some of the fear-mongering nonsense from the progressives and Democrats, and I want you to hear a bit of it. Listen to this. What about fraud at Social Security? Here it is.
I'll say the two improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protect them from fraud that they experience every day on a routine basis, and also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%?
That's right. Almost half.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change where the money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day, and then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
It's happening all day, every day. Fraudsters are taking the Social Security money from legitimate recipients. And Democrats are opposed to this, wildly opposed to the Doge team. They don't want Social Security recipients to get their money, apparently. 40%, anyhow. We're going to start with Sue in Pennsylvania on a free-for-all Friday. Sue, welcome to the program. Sue, how are you? Huh. How about Ray in Virginia? Do we have that? No, we don't have that either. Do we have a technical issue?
Ray's there.
Yeah, we do. I'm right here waiting.
Ray, how are you, my friend? There you are.
Oh, good morning, Steve. Steve, I seen something on the War Room, I think it was last week,
All right.
of Chuck Schumer saying that him and his buddies put 125 judges, federal judges, they approved them, and that really stuck in my brain.
Actually, I think it's more than that,
Because
Ray.
reading the Constitution...
I think you're low on the. I think you're low on the number. The number is much higher than that. Chuck Schumer's right. They packed the courts, Ray, intentionally for this to happen, to fight Donald Trump every step of the way, no matter what he did in every courtroom in America. That's what they did, Ray.
I understand that, but the reason I really got mad was it takes the pro temp of the Senate or the President of the United States to approve what he did. And that makes a conspiracy to overthrow the president. And that comes up to treasons, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Ray, I appreciate your call. I don't disagree with you. Look, it's by design. It's a judicial coup. That's what it is. It is a judicial coup. When everything of significance, whether it's sending Trinidad Aragua and MS-13 gangbangers back out of the country to Venezuela or to El Salvador, wherever they might be going. When you stop that and say you can't deport these people, even though they're in the country illegally and they're violent criminals, that's a judicial coup. When you try to stop the Doge team from firing excess employees and saying that the government's too fat, we need to trim down, we're spending too much money, that's judicial coup in action. That's what it is. Using the courts to advance your ideology against the will of the people. All right, let's try Sue in Pennsylvania again. Sue, how are you today?
Are you there, Steve?
I am right here, Sue. Good morning and welcome to it.
All right. First off, since I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, I want you to know I'm an independent who lives in Pennsylvania. But I've been doing a lot of thinking about your mother.
All right.
And I got to tell you, I'm glad for what Trump did education-wise.
Me too.
But would your mother have considered herself a professional when she taught?
Absolutely.
I'm hoping these guys get rid of this doggone praxis exam. They put it in right before I graduated Messiah the first time, and the exam doesn't make it a profession. You can be a wonderful test taker and suck as a teacher.
What's the exam? Fill the people in.
The exam, you have to pass this thing, to be allowed to teach.
And that's nationally or in the state you're in?
It's all over. Now, there are a couple of states who didn't put it in, but the federal government originally did this whole thing.
Well, and you're exactly right, by the way. This is why you should not have this ability for teachers to get tenured and they're there for life. I mean, if you're a good teacher for the first 3 or 4 years and you burn out and you're a lousy teacher at 10 years or 15 years, why do you get to continue to stay in front of the classroom, Sue? I agree with you on that. We need to be able to have better control.
This is why Sue didn't go into the education system. I own a tutoring business.
Yeah.
And my tutoring business focuses on what they pulled out of the school system. They don't teach home ec anymore, so we're teaching life skills and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So this little girl, I support homeschooling, I support charter schools, and I just want you tell your mom that she's been in my thoughts and prayers.
Sue, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate the phone call. I do. Education needs a big boost here. Let's go to Bruce. Bruce is in Florida today. Bruce, welcome to Free For All Friday. How are you?
Two things. Good morning, Steve. Two things. The CCP have taken over Minnesota. Remember Tampon Tim and Amy Klobuchar and Jennifer Grantham, the Department of Energy Secretary under Biden, have colluded with the Chinese on the battery manufacturing to destroy the American economy. The CCP has secret police stations in New York, Chicago, L.A., San Francisco.
Yeah, I know
and
that.
The Communist Chinese Party influence in this country is destroying it. They're hollowing us out from the inside.
Fair enough. What's that to do with Minnesota?
The battery manufacturing that they're trying to establish for the Chinese, the Chi-Coms in Minnesota, are unduly influencing the unions and the voting public.
All right, Bruce, I got to leave it there, buddy. I got to hit a break here. But something to think about, something to chew on. He's not wrong about anything he said there. We had a battery plant built in Lansing, taxpayer dollars in Michigan. Now been sold to the Koreans. It's just, it's a mess, this whole Green New Deal. We'll be back. not settle for weak corporate coffee. Start your day the way I do with 1775 coffee. It powers this Free for All Friday thing we do. Along with Patriot Mobile and their Common Sense hotline, but 1775 coffee, bold, high quality, built for those who refuse to compromise. It's hand-picked in high altitudes, single origin beans, roasted to perfection. No toxins, no shortcuts, just damn good coffee. If you want in, and you do, 1775coffee.com/Gruber. You'll save 10% when you go there. We're going to start with Nathan in Texas in this round. Nathan, welcome to it. How are you?
Doing well. We wake up every day, deprive ourselves of sleep a lot of days to listen to your show first thing. My wife and I, we love your show.
God bless you. What's your wife's name?
Pam.
Well, good morning to her, too. What's on your mind, Nathan?
I wanted to talk about the education topic that you were discussing yesterday, and I want to point out one thing that this isn't our biggest problem by far, but it is the root of a lot of our problems,
sure.
And it's that our education results are worse than we think they are because, unlike most of the other countries that are probably doing better than we are, we're actually teaching our students the test in a lot of our states. My dad was a PhD, is a PhD still, and the level of teaching, rote learning in this country is just unbelievable. I'm also an airline pilot, and I'm telling you, the rote learning goes all the way into every profession that we have.
So I want to go back, Nathan, to my mother, because Sue brought my mom up. My mom taught fifth grade for more than 3 decades, right? And she said in the 1990s, early, she said they have a problem because they have these tests now, these MEEP tests, where we are is what it's called here in Michigan Educational Act, whatever it is, the MEEP test. And she said the problem is teachers are now teaching to the test, not teaching kids to learn, because that's how the schools get their money. So they're teaching to the test. There's another
Absolutely
big
true.
problem you've identified. And my mother identified this 40 years ago and told me about it when I was a kid. She goes, this is wrong.
It begins in elementary school. I'm telling you, it goes all the way to the top. I work for a major airline, and we are raising airline pilots to be switch flippers and button pushers and not thinking of what they're doing and why they're doing it.
That's just frightening. That'll make me feel better when I get on a flight tomorrow. Thank you so much, Nathan. I'll have sweaty palms, but no, I appreciate it. I do, and I greatly appreciate people like you and your wife that get up. A little sleep deprived is okay if you're educated. It's okay, and I really appreciate you calling in. Thank you for that. Let's go down south to next door, I guess, to Louisiana, where Tim is today. Tim, good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. Yourself?
Yeah, I've been watching you since you was with Tudor Dixon a long time ago.
Yeah.
I love y'all to death. What I'm saying is Trump needs to send a signal, and we need to straighten out all this judicial, bull, and he needs to just stick with the same plan that he's been doing. I know he's got it together now.
He does. There's no question, Tim.
On his side.
No question, Tim. Thank you for calling in. Look, if you look at Donald Trump's administration this time around compared to 2017, it's not the same. He had the first 4 years of experience in office, then he spent 4 years watching and studying and learning and planning, and that's why he has a great team around him. You know, this idea that Pete Hegseth should resign from the left, they have nothing to hang their hat on. Nothing. That's why they're scrambling. For 65 days, they've had their asses kicked, frankly, by Donald Trump and a plan. You know, the executive orders, and now the big, beautiful bill that's coming. Democrats know they're up against it. They have to scream about something. They have to pray for something. That's why they're cheering for a recession and for this signal deal that's been completely overblown, as everybody knows. All right. Here in my home state of Michigan is Ken. Ken, how are you today?
Oh, doing great. And I thought I'd just share with you, I got an update from my doctor's office that I thought would be important to share.
All right.
And that is, since the CDC continues to be run by communists, those that were running the show during the COVID, and it hasn't changed yet, my doctor's office still recommends that we do the opposite that the CDC tells us to do.
I like your doctor.
We've seen what they were... What's that?
I like your doctor. Whatever they say to do, do the opposite. I like that.
Well, one thing that doesn't surprise me, Steve, is I keep hearing that they keep blocking Donald Trump's efforts to bring in new leadership. And so under the current leadership, we keep doing the opposite.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Ken. Thank you for checking in, and keep your doctor. That's what I would recommend. Keep your doctor. In the Palmetto State, we find Bob today in South Carolina. Bob, good morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning. Last July, the Supreme Court had a 6-3 ruling that says the President of the United States has total immunity from all of his actions while he's in office. So why is he even listening to any district court judge when he has total immunity to do whatever the hell he wants? I think the phrase is go pound sand and get on with it. But the second point I wanted to make this morning, Mr. Gruber, is the Republican Congress and Speaker Johnson should pull these judges up, just like Mr. Bann is saying, and pull these judges in there and start rattling their brains and start impeaching them. I agree. These Republicans need to get off their butts and start playing hardball instead of sitting back like little girls and sitting on their hands and doing nothing. This is a war, and they need to start firing back at these judges. It's obvious what they're doing, but they should have this tax bill. This tax bill should have been on his desk day one.
No. Hold on, Bob. I got to jump in there. It takes a long time to put this big bill together because they got the tax bill through the continuing resolution just to clear the tracks. This big bill will be thousands of pages. It'll include all of the initiatives that Donald Trump is looking for. You're going to be amazed at how big this bill really is. When he says one big, beautiful bill, it is gargantuan. It's going to be taxes. It's going to be the border. It's going to be dealing with Ukraine. It's going to be all sorts of things in there. A lot in one big, beautiful bill. All right. We're going to take a break. It's Free for All Friday, brought to you by Patriot Mobile here on the Steve Gruber Show. Couple more calls. I do have Jim Jordan coming up in just a couple of minutes. I wouldn't normally do that to you on a Free for All Friday, but it is Jim Jordan, and, well, he's going to join me here in about 5 or 6 minutes for a few minutes. We're going to Doug in Indiana. Doug, how are you this fine day?
Hey, good morning, Steve. How we doing today?
Doing great. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hey, like that last caller griping about the judges. And let me tell you, I just, when I was in the military, the commander-in-chief was top rank of the military.
That's right.
Why in the world do these judges have any power whatsoever to tell him
and did you catch this, Doug? Hold on. Did you catch this yesterday? One of these judges, one of these activist judges, I believe, if I read this right, said that Pete Hegseth can't take transgender military personnel out of the military. That he has to, keep them.
That was the reason for my call. I don't understand any of that. What gives these judges the right to step in and tell him what to do with the military?
They don't. They don't have that right. It's certainly not district judges. They're like a local judge. They're in that district. The fact that they think that they can, impact the entire country, they are completely out of control. It's judicial overreach. It is a judicial coup. Doug, you are exactly right. I need to get one more call in here. George in Georgia. Doug, greatly appreciate it. You nailed it.
Yes, sir.
George, how are you?
Hello? Yes, sir. I can't hardly hear you, but something just happened. I wanted to talk about this changes the subject, but the young people today don't know what MAGA is. They don't know what Make America Great Again means because they don't believe it was ever great to start with. Well, see, I grew up 10 miles from Jimmy Carter over there and his family. I traded with them all the time. My family traded with him. I'm 72 years old. And see, Donald Trump is old enough to remember the good days, the actual, when we were great. But Jimmy Carter actually started the thing downhill when he let gas go out of sight, electricity bills go out of sight. Used to be a man could get married and have children and have a house and a car and a
chance.
Job,
a man could have a chance, George.
Take a vacation once a year.
That's what we want. We want a chance in this country for everyone to have an opportunity to have the car, to have the house, to have the vacation, to raise the children. Exactly right. Jim Jordan, Congressman from Ohio, straight ahead. Welcome back to the program. Glad to have you along for the conversation. Joining me now is Congressman Jim Jordan from Ohio's 4th Congressional District. You know him because he speaks his mind and he tells the truth and he brings this thing we call common sense to the conversation. Congressman, nice to see you again. Thank you for taking the time.
Steve, good to be with you. Thanks for what you're doing.
All right, so there's a lot going on. I don't even know where to begin. Let's start with lawfare. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
District judges, federal district judges, which are basically local judges, imposing their will across this nation. I don't believe that's the way Article 2 powers are supposed to be restricted. I don't think I'm wrong on this, and yet I keep seeing this happen over and over again. We're being blocked, we being the American people, are being blocked by way of Donald Trump sending Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and other violent gangbangers out of this country, and a judge saying, well, you can't do that. What do you make of all this?
No, I think first there's just a common sense. You look at this judge, like the judge said, turn the plane around, bring the bad guys back here. I mean, these are bad guys who are in the country illegally, and they're part of this international gang, this gang that's notorious for doing terrible things. And they're not Boy Scouts, they're bad guys, and the judge said, bring them back here. Made no sense. And then, as you point out, I think the president is on strong constitutional grounds, strong statutory grounds. The Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, first sentence says that executive power is vested in a president, not some unelected district judge. And then second, the statute from way back when, the Alien Enemies Act, says if it's a predatory incursion, well, that's certainly what that is. They're here illegally. They're bad guys. Again, they're not Boy Scouts. You can do this. So I think he's on strong statutory ground. But you got this judge who thinks he's smarter than the 77 million Americans who elected President Trump.
And yet I just saw a panel decide that he can remain, his order stays for now. They did not overrule him, which is surprising to me. So it's going to be on to the Supreme Court. And I've got to be honest with you, Congressman. I'm a little concerned by that when I see John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett waffling on things that should be pretty clear, I would think, to a conservative jurist. I don't have a lot of confidence that it's going to go the right way. Look, at what point do these judges think they can say, well, don't arrest this person? We just saw an MS-13 leader in this country brought down by Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and the forces. I mean, where does this end?
Well, I think the Supreme Court may, in fact, rule the right way. We'll have to see. I do know on a slightly different issue, these injunctions where you will have a district judge issue an injunction and it'll apply nationwide. We actually think that should change. We've got legislation we passed out of the committee 3 weeks ago, which will address that. It's going to be on the floor next week. So we think that'll be helpful. And some of the judges, including liberals on the Supreme Court, have raised concerns about a district judge issuing an injunction which has national implications, applies nationally versus just in that jurisdiction, just to the parties of the case. So we think that we can do well in the Supreme Court. We want to pass this legislation which deals with a slightly different issue than Judge Boasberg. His was a temporary restraining order or an order. But all of this is a concern, and we're having hearings on this next week in our committee, and also Senator Grassley plans to have hearings in the Senate Judiciary Committee as well.
And I think Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth raised a great point, which is this. At what point do these judges think they can dictate movements on a battlefield? How far do they think they can inject themselves in? And look, Chuck Schumer made this clear. He made this clear that there were a couple of hundred judges added at the late hour of the Biden administration to do exactly what we're seeing here. It's judicial interference, and it's by design, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why we should look at the legislative levers we have to impact this. We should look at the appropriations process, which is the real power Congress has. And, of course, we should do the oversight, which is the hearings that we plan to start next week.
Yeah, all right. So let me ask you about something else. Talking about all these things. Now there's been a lawsuit filed in this whole Signal Gate issue, whatever this is. I don't think it's a scandal. I've read the text messages. I think we all have at this point. I don't see who, where, how, why, or when. I don't see any of that. I see a conversation of pros and cons about military operations, and not just with the Houthis, but with Gaza and other places. I don't know how this Jeffrey Goldberg got put into this conversation. That's a question that does need to be answered. But there's nothing here that violated national security or anything else that I can see. Do you see something else?
Well, and then there's also what happened. Bad guys got killed. The operation was a success. No Americans were hurt. No Americans were injured, as far as I know. And they've told us it wasn't classified information conveyed in the conversation. So let's move forward and let's get on with doing what President Trump campaigned to do. I mean, I think that's the takeaway the vast majority of the American people have. So let's stay focused on that.
And so where do you think this goes? There was a lawsuit just filed. I couldn't believe it, Congressman. A lawsuit filed against Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz and Tulsi Gabbard and all of these folks based on what I'm not sure, but it's another meddlesome lawsuit. And is this where we are in America? Look, they couldn't beat Donald Trump politically. They couldn't beat him legally, obviously, because he's been reelected. His agenda, he's been whooping their tails for about 65 days now with everything he's doing, right? I mean, he's winning, so they have to have some distraction, and the only thing they have left are distractions and lawfare. But where does that leave us?
And the judge who gets assigned the case, randomly selected, is Judge Boasberg, the same judge who said, turn the plane around, bring him back. I mean, Shazam, it just happened to be him. So maybe that's right, but you kind of got to wonder how he's the one who winds up getting the case. Again, and the guy who brought the action with American Oversight, Norm Eisen, he's the guy the Democrats a few years ago brought into the committee, to the Judiciary Committee, to help with their impeachment of President Trump. So this looks pretty choreographed. We'll just have to see how it shakes out.
It does look pretty choreographed and pretty. It's pretty well wrong. So they're going after Elon Musk. And here's something I need to ask you about. Elon Musk. You see all of these attacks on Tesla dealerships and attacks on people's personal vehicles. I haven't heard one Democrat say, hey, this is wrong, stop it. I mean, people bought a car to take their kids to school or go to work or whatever, and they're being attacked. I mean, thousands of dollars worth of damage. What's wrong with these people?
Well, I like to say now, I think the divide in America is common sense versus crazy. We're the party of common sense, as President Trump always says. They're the party who's embraced all kinds of crazy ideas. They're the party that says, let's defund the police. It's crazy to defund the police. It's crazy not to have a border. It's crazy to have men compete against women in sports. It's crazy to have to encourage the firebombing of Teslas, for goodness sake. It's crazy for a judge to say, turn the plane around, bring the bad guys back here, and you can just keep going. If they're going to embrace crazy concepts, we'll stick with common sense. I think we'll win elections.
Well, they do have Jasmine Crockett as the leader of their party, apparently. So that's pretty well out there. Let me ask you a couple more things here. You were at the wrestling championships here a few days ago. You see the president, how he's received by common sense, middle America. I mean, what did you make of that?
Well, when he walked in, there were 18,000 wrestling fans. I think all 18,000 were amazing ovation he got. And then the key match, of course, was this heavyweight match where the young man from Oklahoma State, who had done his 4 years at the Air Force Academy, had an extra year, went to Oklahoma State because he wanted to be a national champion. He ends up beating the reigning Olympic champ, the toughest guy on the planet. No way he's supposed to win. And I told the president, I said, that young man doesn't win if you're not there. Because he had said something like, his commander-in-chief, his boss was going to be there. And I think that was sort of the added energy and emotion that sometimes we see in sports, where he wrestled a match that was just unbelievable. And so that was sort of the highlight of the evening. And then for him to salute the president, it was a great night for wrestling fans, a great night for America when you see this young man pull off this upsets with, the kind of thing that we get in sports sometimes. A lot of fun.
It was special. And look, it's the same attitude Donald Trump brings to this country. Congressman Jim Jordan from the great state of Ohio, thank you for being here. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
right, back to it now. This part of the program brought to you by Hillsdale College. And the folks at Hillsdale said, hey, Gruber, what's up with your listeners? They don't seem to be taking classes as much as some other people's folks. I'm like, my people better be at the front of the line to learn everything they can about history, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Who needs to know more about the Constitution than you folks right here? Nobody. GruberForHillsdale.com. These courses are free. Go try one. Send me an email. Tell me what you think. You're going to be really happy with it. GruberForHillsdale.com. You can learn about the Constitution, get a refresher. Time and technology have changed, but the bottom line truth of our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence have not. You need to know why you have to fight for your faith, your family, and for this country every single day. Let's go to Randy in Florida on this Free-for-All Friday. Randy, welcome to it.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Randy?
Good. Hey, I'm not very happy this morning. I've been hearing that Scott Pressler is mad because, which I don't blame him, that we just lost the Senate seat up in Pennsylvania for lack of money. Now, I mean, Scott Pressler was the one that helped Mr. Trump
be a state Senate seat, but yes, a state Senate seat. I think you're right about that. We've lost every special election since November, is what Scott was saying, because basically the Republicans have gotten complacent. Oh, look, we won. Donald Trump's president. It's all done. We're all good. No, ma'am. No, sir. You must stay vigilant.
We're taking the eye off the ball here.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to really think about the upcoming elections, the midterms. Or else they're going to regroup and beat us.
Well, the biggest election is coming Tuesday in Wisconsin. There's a seat on the Supreme Court of the state of Wisconsin that will if the Democrats win, they've already made it clear they're going to get rid of 2 Republican members of Congress because they're going to redraw the lines in Wisconsin, just toss out 2 Republicans that are in seats currently. I mean, the Democrats will rig the system any way they can. And this is the judicial coup. Randy, we have to stay on focus. We have to stay disciplined. You have to vote, folks, and don't get cheap now. Donald Trump needs your help now just as much as he did before. Thank you for the call, Randy. It's a wake-up call for everybody here today. Arthur in Massachusetts, sir, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I read through the whole thing, didn't see anything classified. And then you have clowns like Dick Blumenthal from Connecticut down there going, a crime was committed and Hegseth should resign in shame. Well, how about Blumenthal? He should have resigned in shame.
Stolen valor.
For his stolen valor.
That's right. Richard Blumenthal. He's a cheat and a lie. I'm Senator Richard Blumenthal. He's a fraud. Richard Blumenthal is a fraud. But make no mistake, this is a coordinated effort. They don't like Hegseth. Some of the Republicans don't like Hegseth, don't like the fact that he is there. They're targeting these people. This is a judicial coup, is no other way to put it. And you're going to see more of it, not less, because the Democrats have been getting schooled for 2.5 months now by this administration. They're angry. They're pissed off. They need a place to vent their anger. They're trying to do it on Tim Walz and Pete Hegseth. Randy, great stuff. Thank you for Arthur, thank you for calling. Joanne, ladies on the line from Pennsylvania. Joanne, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Steve? I'm glad you do what you do. I'm just going to piggyback off of one of your calls, the PA Senate seat. I don't understand why the Republicans, since it was so close, is not challenging this.
In which say that again?
The PA special election?
Right. It was really close. But we have a problem.
It was, and I don't understand why the Republican isn't challenging it.
Well, that's up to them. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is it should not have been a close race. But Republicans have become complacent. You're exactly right. We need to get up, get fired up. You can't just say, well, Trump won, I'm good. No, you have to show up in the midterm elections. You have to show up at school.
I know. Trump needs his army as much.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. My daughter just turned a Republican and voted for Trump. And I said, you think that seat's the most important one or the next 3 years?
That's right. We have to support him every step of the way. We have to make sure we win the midterm elections, make sure he still has a House and a couple more Senate seats to work with. That's incredibly, critically important for the future of this country. We've got a bunch of stuff. We're going to talk about Doge here the next hour. And when you hear about the money they're saving for Social Security and so forth, you know you need to vote for this. All right, Joanne, thank you. Up to the corner, Dan, my good friend in Maine. You know, I'm on WLOB, the Lobster Network in Maine now,
Morning,
Dan.
Steve, how you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
You're looking great in my living room every day.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to make, I have a question. You can help me out with. Someone mentioned me yesterday, the professors in Maine, the University of Maine, are pretty upset because they're losing funding. I don't understand all of that. Why do they get federal funding anyway? To me, these universities and colleges, just like any other business, they have assets and liabilities. They charge a lot of tuition. Why do they need taxpayer money?
You know, it's remarkable how much money these universities and colleges chew up, isn't it? I mean, how much they go through to indoctrinate the children that go there. Many of the degrees they hand out aren't worth the paper they're written on. How do I know that? Because the people that have those degrees don't have jobs in the field. They don't have a job. They go to school for 4 years at the University of Maine or 1,000 other places in this country, and they get done, and they say, hey, look, I've got my degree. I'm ready to go to work. And they're like, that degree doesn't mean anything. Communications, sociology, who cares? Go to work, start a business, roll up your sleeves, work your ass off in America, then you'll become something. Then you will become something. Rethink college, kids. We need a lot of carpenters, electricians, plumbers, HVAC people. We need tradespeople in this country. The money's really good, by the way. Yeah, it's really good. I'll take a break and be back with more of your calls after this. right, here we go. We can get some more calls in before we hit the end of this hour. Let's go to Rose. She's in the great state of Michigan. I love Michigan. Rose, how are you today?
I'm here, Steve, but I can hardly hear you.
That's all right. Go ahead and tell me what's on your mind.
Thanks for all you do and for introducing us to My Pure Health Solutions. You're the only person I've heard that would call out Bethany Christian Services and their lack of care for children in their supposed to be in their care, and I wanted to give a personal face to that. Been the grandmother of a foster child who's now 2 years old, came into our family at a week old, and Berrien County Bethany Christian Services is now talking about sending him home to birth parents who nearly killed his older brother through child abuse. What suggestions do you have for a foster family in this predicament?
Wow, you need to get some really good representation. There's no easy answer here because the game is always rigged against people like you. They always want to send them back. It's crazy to me, Rose, it is. But their first goal is send them back to the birth parents. Well, the birth parents were a failure. Just because you got pregnant or because you inseminated some woman doesn't make you a father. There's a lot more to the job than that, and I agree with you, and I'm sorry you have to go through that, Rose. I don't know, good representation and a lot of prayer. I wish I had something better to offer you. Harry in North Carolina, thank you for calling. What's on your mind?
Yes, Steve, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, a couple months ago, Trump was supposed to go and check Fort Knox for the missing gold.
No, we haven't done that, have we?
Okay. Years ago, I seen Obama there with a bunch of army trucks going into Fort Knox. So I think there was a whole bunch of gold missing.
Well, Harry, I'm going to have to look into that. I never saw Barack Obama there. The last time I saw anybody in Fort Knox, 1974. We checked on this recently. We need the Fort Knox gold checked. We need the Epstein files. And say some prayers for Rose today, would you please? She's up against it, and I think she's in the right place. We'll have a lot more of your calls coming up on the next hour right here on the Steve Gruber Show. Greatly appreciate you being here. More to come.